Think of all those Ukrainian American families in our own state. We have a huge population. We stand with them. They are pro-freedom against a Russian aggressor. If it's at our own border, if it's inflation, if it's the supply chain crisis, we know the stakes in Washington.
Welcome back to Spectrum News. Special coverage of the New York State Republican Convention. While the focus of the convention has been the issues that are present here in New York, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has also been on everybody's mind, including the Republicans speaking during the convention.
Joining us now from Buffalo is second-generation Ukrainian-American Stefan Mychajliw. Mychajliw is a Republican strategist for Big Dog Strategies. He's also former Erie County Controller. Stefan, great to talk to you. It's been a while.
Yes, thank you for having me, and especially on the issue of Ukraine. I wish I can see both of you under better circumstances, but here we are, and I'm glad to join you.
Yeah, we heard several of the candidates just now. We played a clip from earlier today, Lee Zeldin, talking about Ukraine. Many of the candidates at the state mentioned President Biden's weak tenure, their words, as a reason for Russian aggression now. I'm wondering if Russian aggression is necessarily a Republican issue, and if so, what is the connection to state politics?
I think Republican, Democrat, the fact that our president said that the United States would respond depending on whether or not Russia would have a minor incursion into Ukraine. And the reason why it matters to everybody, regardless of political party, is number one, of course, from an economic perspective, everyone's gas prices are going to go up because of the flow of oil in Russia. But from a humanitarian perspective, that's the most important issue to face, whether you're a Republican, Democrat in Buffalo or in Brooklyn. The fact that this is Hitler in 1939 all over again. But when it comes to having a very tough as nails policy against Putin, Russia, a lot of us on the Republican side of the aisle feel as though this never would have happened had President Biden been so weak with Vladimir Putin. And I've made the point many times, and Republicans are as well, that if Donald Trump were president, this never would have happened.
You are involved in raising money for the cause. How specifically can our viewers here in New York aid the Ukrainians?
That's a great question, because here in Buffalo we have the Dnipro Ukrainian Cultural Center. We also have similar centers in Rochester, Syracuse, all over New York State. Our website is Ukrainiansofbuffalo.com. That's Ukrainiansofbuffalo.com. And over the past 8 years, we've sent about $100,000 and $10 million of supplies over to Ukraine. Now what we're doing is sending resources directly to Poland, and like-minded, freedom-loving people are then driving across the border from Poland into Ukraine. So any resources that we raise at Ukrainiansofbuffalo.com is going straight to the front lines.
So I think it's wonderful that you're doing that, and that's terrific. I do want to go back to something you said about Donald Trump. You said if Trump was president, this incursion into Ukraine would not have happened. I'm scratching my head, Stefan, figuratively, because wasn't it President Trump who was sort of very friendly with Putin and sort of played political footsie with him over the 4 years that he was president?
You're 100% correct on that point, but I look at the fact that under Donald Trump, Putin did not invade Ukraine. Whether or not he had diplomatic relations with Russia, whether he was friendly with Putin, the fact is Russia did not invade Ukraine while Donald Trump was president. Going back to Barack Obama, where he said, okay, we have a red line with Syria. What happened exactly 1 year and 1 day later from making that statement? Assad, killed his own people in Damascus and killed 1,400 people. Fast forward to the 2 words that Joe Biden said, minor incursion of Putin, and lo and behold, roughly 5 weeks later, Putin invades. So regardless of what you think of Donald Trump and his relationship with Putin, Russia never invaded Ukraine on his watch.
If this really is 1939 or the equivalent, the analogy you brought up, I mean, nothing was going to stop Hitler in 1939. You could talk to him one way, you could talk to him another way. You could threaten war, and indeed we did have a catastrophic world war as a result of his incursions in 1939. That's just unthinkable in the nuclear age, though, at this point, right? I mean, we don't want to see an armed clash between the United States and Russia.
No, absolutely not. And you're correct. The circumstances are different from World War II in the fact that, of course, Putin has a nuclear arsenal. Ukraine had one too. England and the United States had promised, take away your nuclear weapons, we'll protect you. So right now, I think the strategy is working when it comes to economic sanctions, hitting Putin very hard in the pocketbooks. All of his friends and bankers and business people in the United States, they have no business being here. They have no business doing business in the United States. And it is heartening as a Ukrainian American to see the world coming together and fighting back with the way that we can, avoiding a catastrophic World War III, but at least hitting him in the pocketbook with sanctions all over the world.
I want to pivot now to masking. It was a big issue during the state convention. You've been an outspoken critic of masks. If there was a spike in COVID cases, how should the state respond? I mean, do you think that a mask mandate would control the spread?
Absolutely not. I think a lot of bureaucrats and even Governor Hochul focused on political science rather than actual science when it comes to mandates, especially those with masks. I think you treat people, like the common sense adults that they are, let them make decisions on their own. I think taxpayers are fed up across New York State. You look at Virginia, a lot of those angry soccer moms led a red wave there. There was also a red wave here, in Nassau County in the past election. I think you're going to see that this November as well, where New Yorkers are sick and tired of mandates, businesses were closed, and a lot of people left New York State for good because a lot of these mask and vaccine mandates.
The mandates themselves, I understand they are unpopular. In fact, I think almost every anti-COVID measure, at least when it was first implemented, was tremendously unpopular. But is there a distinction to be made between what works in the polling booth, say the political science as you describe it, and just the hardcore medical science, separate and apart from whether or not people want it, separate and apart from whether or not it gets votes? You've served in government at the county level. People have to come up with policies that work in a way that is separate from whether or not people actually want to follow those instructions, right?
I mean, look, COVID is dangerous and deadly, of course. I mean, you look back to the disastrous decision of Andrew Cuomo to send healthy seniors back into the nursing homes of around previously healthy seniors. I believe that led to the deaths of thousands of senior citizens. That was a disastrous decision that killed the elderly. I think you can find a healthy balance of protecting those that need to be protected from COVID, especially the elderly and the immune compromised, without basically shutting down the entire state and killing businesses in the process for a disease that many believe is just as bad for some who are healthy as the common cold.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you out on the campaign trail. It looks like it's going to be a spirited campaign season.
Hope so.
Okay.
Thanks, Stefan.
We're going to take a short break here. Coming up next, President Biden is set to deliver his first State of the Union address tonight.
We're going to tell you what to expect from tonight's